Welcome to the 21 Report. I'm Frank Pesci, and I'm here with Alexander Cortez, aka Ajax. Alexander is a personal trainer, content creator, and fitness entrepreneur. Ajax, how are you?
How you doing, Frank?
Doing great. Thanks for being here.
Good to be here.
Absolutely. So you spoke at the event this year.
Yes.
What's going on? What do you think?
So this is my fifth time speaking. So I did 3 speeches, talks, the 21 convention, the 22 convention, then also the Patriarch convention. So I became a dad this past year, about 3.5 months ago.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Well, I've seen you at other conventions, just as we were talking in the pre-interview. I have taken things from you, from your speeches. I've applied them in my life, and it has become part of my regimen of personal growth and development and just being a better version of myself. I know that you are a guy who's always pursuing excellence. What are some of the habits of excellence that you apply these days in your life, and what do you promote to your fans?
Yeah, being a dad, actually, it didn't change a lot, but it clarified a lot, where it's very easy to tell men, like, you have to be disciplined, you have to follow a schedule. Your life has to have structure to it. You don't have any structure, you don't have any discipline, then any kind of recommendations are pretty much mute. I could give you the best plan in the world, for fitness, for anything else, but if waking up at the same time isn't something you do, and if prioritizing your time isn't something you do, that doesn't really mean anything. But when you have kids, I wouldn't say that you have less time, but you have less time to be indecisive. And when my son was born, I remember I was pretty tired. My wife went to labor during the night, sort of gave birth in the morning. It was pretty much fast delivery, but neither of us had slept. But I still went to the gym the next day, and I got on the treadmill, I ran 4 miles. Because I was imagining, like, what would my son think, if I sort of skipped the gym, right? You sort of have this question, you become a dad of, like, what would my son think if he was watching me right now, like, in my actions? And I became much more impatient, in fact, now that he's been born, where I do everything faster. Like the rate of time, the order of time, the flow of time is accelerated that way. And I've been telling my following that now, I've gotten much more, I place much more of an emphasis on your usage of time and being ultra decisive in the moment. When you're younger, when you're younger, it's just yourself. Like, you can waste your moments. You can spend time thinking about things. You can waffle back and forth. But then once you have kids, you realize, like, Jesus, like, I wasted, moments, days, weeks. Let me think about this. Don't think so much. Just act. Action is clarifying. So it's honed the message down, I think, that way. What is the habit of excellence? Consistency, doing the same things. But consistency itself is a decision. What do I need to do to be consistent? You're just doing the same thing. It's something that grows over time. Nobody starts out in a state of greatness. We all start out shit. If you're in the beginning of any process, like, you're an amateur, you don't know anything. How do you get better? You show up every day, regardless of feeling, regardless of emotionality, regardless of motivation.
What role do archetypes play in the way that you think, the way that you prosecute life? I say that because I had spent time in one of your talks, 2019 maybe, where you did an amazing job of just tying together what it means to be a man to archetypes throughout the time of history. Do you still think along those lines? I do. It's a useful framework for just understanding sort of what I call, like, the depth and breadth of masculinity. We've put up with about 20, 30 years of what my friend Mike Shermich always calls like boobs and butt and bacon kind of masculinity. What are men into? Men like bacon, men like tits, men are into ass. It's just like this very generic kind of, like, men as being sort of this, like, these sexual animalistic beings. And, like, that's kind of it. That's all we're supposed to be. And that's not the case, obviously. Like, men have created the world, and being a man has immense depth and breadth to it. It's a complex experience. There's all different kinds of men in the world. There's all different kinds of talents and what you can be good at, what you can pursue. And archetypes is just a way of orienting yourself around certain kinds of roles and characters. Every man's inclined towards different things. You have men who are leaders, king archetype, right? You have men who are very physical, combative, competitive, warrior archetype. You have men who are very intellectual, like that. They have the mind. You can call that sort of like a wizard archetype, an organizer. And then you have men who are, in fact, like, more emotional in a masculine way. They like to bond with people. They have a softer touch. Like, they use love as sort of their conduit for relation to the world. And when you and analyze yourself, and you're trying to better understand yourself, like what do you defer to? And you're always going to be all things at once. It's not that you pick something and you pick an identity and that's all that you are. But organizing it that way, especially as a younger guy, where you're trying to figure out like who am I? Like what am I into? It's like what are my natural talents? What are my interests? What kind of environment do I feel most comfortable in? What am I good at? And hopefully it gives you some clarity, some clarification. And obviously the archetypes, you can sort of subdivide them out. You can try to combine them. You can go like through personal evolutions. Like maybe you start off here. When you're young, you're very physical, and over time you become more of an intellectual man. Or maybe you're a guy who's really good with women. But it's some guys that's their only thing, right? It's just women, and it's like, okay, well, I need to be more than just trying to be a lover boy, or a fuck boy. What else is there? So I still reference that from time to time. But the past year, especially once I got married and became a father, I focus much more on sort of the fatherhood, I guess, archetype now.
Because that's what's important to you. That's what you're encountered with.
Yeah, that's what becomes important to you. Yeah, and it's interesting sort of watching the manosphere evolve at the same time where, as I often reference this, it started out as it being basically about getting women. How can I have successful relationships or just get sex? For a lot of guys, that's still their major frustration, getting laid. It's okay, it's a real thing. There's always going to be that segment of dudes where they just struggle with girls. But then over time, it's evolved into, okay, it's not just about women, it's, how do I be more effective in the world? How do I pursue excellence? How do I become more successful financially? Exactly. How do I, patriarch convention, how do I be a better father? How do I be a better leader to people? So I'm seeing the 21 convention evolve at the same time, which is cool to see.
Yeah, and you've evolved with it. I mean, from my perspective, as somebody who sits in the audience and gets to watch these speeches and have conversations like this, I've seen just everybody has just grown in a different direction. People have been unified, seemingly under one spirit, we might say, in a lot of ways. 5-time returning speaker.
Yes.
What do you think of this event that Anthony put together this year as it compares to the others?
This year, it's been an evolution since 2018. This year it's gotten older. Like the subject matter, definitely whether this is Anthony's personal decision or that's just the state of the spear. The subject matter, even 5 years ago was very female-oriented, and now it's just sort of very man in the world, accomplishment-oriented. The majority of the speeches that were given, which that's been cool to see, and the audience has gotten more serious. Again, it started out being about women largely, and now it's just really about how can I be competent, how can I navigate sort of this chaotic world, how can I make sense of it. And the sense-making factor has become much more of a subject matter, where guys come here to sort of listen to other men who they consider competent. Like, how do you think about the world? What do you think of what's going on right now? That kind of question. And how can you help me think about it and hopefully make better decisions?
It becomes like a reality check. For you guys, for instance, who are content creators, you get to meet other people who are also creating content, who are influencing people, who are seeing things perhaps from a different perspective. Do you find yourself coming away from these conferences more equipped?
Oh yeah, I mean that's one of the unique positions when you're a content creator, like when you're a personal brand. I never expected to be doing this. I've said this before. This is not my life goal. I'm going to be a known figure, on the internet. That was not something I thought about 10, 15 years ago when I was younger. But that's what I became, right? But in regards to creating content and really just wanting to be useful to your audience, that's how I always think of myself. I want to be useful to people. I'm not trying to create a cult of personality.
Just want to be a vessel.
Yeah, I'm not. It's not my aim that people are trying to imitate me. I just want to share useful information, useful advice, useful models, heuristics, instructions, steps, and hopefully you take that, you apply it to yourself, and it allows you to find out who you are as your own man. Not trying to be me or someone else. Who are you? And here's some tools to help you discover that.
I know that you have, forums and a faithful following of people that listen to you. When you see those guys, do you see them trying to be like you, or do you see them trying to be the best version of themselves? Because in essence, you become the archetype that they look at. Mm-hmm. They say, I want to be like him. How do you navigate that? What is your views on that?
Yeah, I think I attract independent-minded people. I had guys here that I was meeting for the first time. They've been following me 5 years. Which I was like, wow, it's, they started out maybe they were 25, now they're 30, or when they were 20, now they're 25. It's not an insignificant portion of their life by percentage, but they always seem to skew towards being independent-minded. I don't know if I've really met anybody where it's oh, this guy's trying to sort of copy
me. It's more so like I found you, and it's like more like a big brother figure. It's like you look up to your big brother. He gives you good advice. He's sort of living his life. Maybe you're trying to sort of imitate what he's doing, but he's also encouraging you, like, you need to go find your own way. He's going to push you into those kinds of situations, whether literally or metaphorically, figuratively.
Right.
So, I've never gotten that vibe from people.
You never got a stand letter like Eminem got?
No.
All right.
I mean, every once in a while, like, I've had lots of weird interactions online, but that's just the nature of being online. Once you have a large following, I'd almost compare it to being like A-list famous. Not that I'm being mobbed in public, but just when you're online, you have 100,000 plus people that follow you. Right. Cumulatively, it's like maybe 200,000. You're going to attract weirdos just kind of by default. There's going to be a percentage of, not even your audience, but a percentage of people where they find someone and they fixate on them, and because of their own pathologies, they send you weird stuff or create weird scenarios.
That's funny.
But I mean, that's like a very, overall, like I say this often too, like my following I consider like a virtuous following. It's a virtuous cycle. I'm useful to people, I'm a positive figure for them, I get that positivity back. Those negative interactions are not even maybe 1% of the overall breadth of interactions. But you do remember them just because oftentimes they're almost comical, it's humorous.
Yeah.
It stands out from the other stuff, so.
Okay. You are a content creator, obviously. What a big following. You're doing it, you're enjoying it. You said it wasn't necessarily what you set out to do, but you're doing it well. When I talk to young people, Generation Z people, they all want to be content creators, dude. They all want to be Andrew Tate. They all want to do something where they make money online. Like, what would you say to them about the reality of being a content creator? The work that goes into it? What's the lifestyle really like behind the scenes?
It seems to me that, so being a content creator now, being a creator, being influencer, another word that was not a thing 10 years ago, now it is. I think for young people, it's simply looking at what is most popular and wanting to be that popular person. I remember growing up in the 1990s, and it was very popular for young women then, like they wanted to be a singer. Which I don't know if that's the case now, but like at that time, this was like pop culture. This was sort of the Britney Spears era. Like being a singer was probably like the highest status thing you could be as like a girl, or at least be by a young woman's perspective. As a young guy, I remember 1990s. This is when, for whatever reason, like I haven't traced it sociologically, but like being like an astronaut was supposed to be like a cool thing. Like I want to be an astronaut. I don't hear anyone say they want to be an astronaut anymore.
Ever.
But at that time, being an astronaut was like, that was cool. That somehow meant something important. For kids don't have, young people don't have, extremely defined, logical, objective reasons for why they think they want to be something. They're just existing in the world. Their brains are still forming. They're young. They're young people, right? So I can imagine when you're 15, 16, 17, and the most popular, coolest person you know is an online creator of some kind that you follow. Like, I want to be like him. The actual reality of it is, I don't want to say that it's an unsustainable career, but to have sustainability, to last in this, it goes back to my emphasis on usefulness, on having utility. You actually have to have useful knowledge and skills and advice you can give people and direction. You can be an entertainer, like sort of being an online creator, sort of like being the new version of a comedian celebrity. You could do an entertainment factor, but not everyone's entertaining. Most people are not entertaining. Your odds of succeeding as a micro celebrity are probably pretty low. It goes back to the popularity thing. Like people just want to be popular. I've been doing this for a while, and why am I successful at it? It's just brutal consistency, right. Which feels easy for me. Like I'm good at writing. I like being on camera. It's enjoyable, but doing that every single day, for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, my rate of production also has to match my consumption. That actually gets overlooked a lot. Like if you want to be consistently useful to people, you have to be reading a lot. You have to be watching content. You have to actually be studying and learning and improving your own knowledge base, to stay up to date. At least certainly in my field of fitness. Is someone actually willing to do that, or do they just want the supposed success of, look, this person got a lot of likes, they look cool, they're presenting this image, and I want to feel cool. I want people to like me too. So I question my own position at times. Like, is this going to burn out eventually? Not myself, but like, is the creator sort of market going to eventually sort of have this rise and then sort of fall into a trough of like, okay, like we've seen people do this for a number of years, they can't keep it up. And, maybe 10 years from now, like who's still going to be doing this? It's going to be the people that have truly something to offer. People quit doing this all the time. I've given out this formula I've given out the formula probably 1,000 times to people. Like, I want to do what you do. I want to work online. I think I know things. I want to, be my own personal brand. Okay, like just pick a platform, post every day, do that for 3 years straight. That's it. Like if you do that, you'll probably be successful if your stuff's any good. But most people die after 30 days. It's discouraging. Don't quit your day job at the same time. It might be a year before you really make money at whatever your idea is.
So it's fair to say, not every tweet that you sent out, you're in a moment of inspiration and glory and excitement. Oh, I can't wait to share this with the world.
No. I mean, this is with the way we consume media now. Remember 20, 30 years ago, like people watched too much television.
The boob tube.
Yeah, it was like this. There was this big movement like television's the worst thing. This is even 1950s, Fahrenheit 451.
The idiot box.
Yeah, like this television's destroying people's minds. We're watching too much TV. This is terrible. Humans just like to consume things. It's just in our nature. Like we can only be productive so much. The majority of people, they're just going to want to sit and just watch something unfold. And we like to be fed this way. Mm-hmm. It's mimetic. The internet kind of replaced television. The same way like YouTube and Twitter and all these things replaced, you could say like newspapers and magazines. So that's a new form of consumption. Some people can keep it up, some can't. Some people get driven crazy by it, some don't. Being a creator, you're in this weird simultaneous role of being an educator, entertainer, business person, entrepreneur. Like you have the ability to launch 1,000 ships if you want. So what are you really going to do with it? As I say, I always try to keep it useful for people. I don't want to be known as someone that's a clown, or a jester kind of character. Other people sort of fall into that because they don't know what else to do. So it'd be interesting to see where it goes in another 5, 6, 10 years.
Yeah, you're a brilliant dude, man. I've definitely enjoyed any of the content that I've been able to consume of yours. I've enjoyed it. I've always thought it was incredibly insightful.
I appreciate that. That's gratifying to hear.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why I like doing these events when I show up. Because it's like, okay, I get positive feedback a lot, obviously. Written word, emails, people send stuff. But you meet people in person, it's like, hey, you've really helped me. I'm like, okay, cool, I'm doing good in the world.
Yeah, right on. Do you think it's important for men to attend events like these, in particular 21 Summit?
Definitely. You have to make the internet real. This has changed for the better the last few years, but when this sort of like self-improvement sphere first arose, or the manosphere, even the fitness fields first arose, it's very easy to consume content online. We all do it. But it's you and your individual relationship with basically your phone or your laptop. You're not connecting with people. Loneliness has become a serious issue for young people. A lot of people don't actually have friends. They don't have close connections.
Yeah.
Everyone they know is just literally just digital relationships, and that's not a substitute for real life relationships. I've met a lot of guys here that have become my friends, who are the creators, fellow guys, over the last 5 years. I've also met attendees that have become my friends, or become people that I have relationships with, and I've seen them build relationships with each other. Maybe they move in together, maybe they realize they live in the same town, same state, whatever. They plan things together, and it's just a way for you to probably make, using the internet as a filtering mechanism, or these events as a filtering mechanism. It's a way to meet people that you're probably very aligned with value-wise. You probably have similar mindsets. You're of the same mind about many things, so you'll probably have a lot in common.
Absolutely. Well, where can people find you?
So the usual places. So Twitter. Was I supposed to look at the camera this whole time?
We'll look at the end. Okay. Or you can. I think it's a good time.
Yeah, so Twitter, obviously, AJA_Cortez, website, cortez.site, and then Instagram as well, AJA_Cortez. And I'd like to think I'm somewhat known for having a really good newsletter. So all of my long-form content that I consider the most helpful stuff, the good stuff, it's all in the newsletter. So go sign up for that.
Fantastic. For the 21 Report, I'm Frank Pesci with AJAC. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.